Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to show you how to create a cartoon shader similar to what you see here. The type of shader that we're going to create is more like the style of what you see in Breath of the Wild. So you got the dark tones, you got the mid tones and the lighter tones, and you got really hard edge on for the shadows that really gives that nice stylized feel to it. So we're going to be doing something like that in Blender. So I'm going to go ahead and open my original file without the shader yet. Okay, so it's just a plain 3D model here, 3D sculpt. And go ahead and just select the character or environment that you made. And let's go to our material and let's go and create a brand new material. We could go ahead and just rename this. I'm going to name it skin underscore matte. And by default, the surface is going to be principled BSDF. We have to change that. Click here and set it to Toon BSDF shader. And so if you are on your shader editor, you should see the Toon BSDF shader here. And let's do a little test render using cycles. See what we're working with. All right, so right now there's really nothing here because I don't have any lights, okay? So the type of light that actually works best with the Toon shader that will give that nice stylized look that we are looking for is the sunlight. So let's go and Shift A, light and sun. And let's go ahead and just move it up, put it to the side, and let's go to our side view and move it here, move it back, and then rotate it so they could point to our character, onto the front view again, and then just rotate it so it's pointing, illuminating our character's face. So what I like to do when I'm adding light is I do like to add it like at an angle and then pointing at the character, because if you have the light right in the middle, it tends to make the character's face look flat. Okay, so you want to, when you're adding light, it's best to do it right at an angle like this so you got better looking shadows. All right, and let's go ahead and check out what we have so far after adding the light. Okay, and that's what we have, and of course it is way too dark. And if we go ahead and go to our Toon shader, right now we do have it at a color white. What you could do is you could change the color of this to a skin tone color. Let's see, a skin tone color like this. All right, you could also paint a texture map for this, which is what I did here. And if you paint a texture map, you could go ahead and plug in an image texture, and go ahead and open your texture map that you have made, and you just plug that texture map onto the color. All right, and I made some painting here for the eyebrows and the lips, and I added some makeup on there, but you could see without it, it's just a plain color. All right, so yeah, if you have texture map that you could use, go ahead and do that. Just plug that in. And of course, this is still way too dark. We could add another extra light that's gonna go this way on the left side and pointing on her face. So Shift A, let's go add another light, sunlight, and let's go and rotate it, move it here to the side, and I'm gonna go to the top view, gonna go and have it point this way. And I think while I'm doing this, I'm gonna go and rotate it here. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and render this out. I'm gonna actually move it closer and then render this out to see how it looks like. Okay, so we see more light there, and we see the light right here. We could go ahead and further just gonna go ahead and go to the side to the top view and just adjust your light so we could get more of the features of the character to be revealed. So this requires you to just really adjust your lighting so that you could see more of the features of the face. And I'm also going to be adjusting the first lighting that I added. Maybe I could go ahead and just, this is all really about adjusting your lighting to get the right result that you want. Okay, and rotate it, something like this. And I could even rotate it even more. So really the lighting will determine how your stylized character will look like. So I just want to adjust it to the point where I could see. I want to adjust it to the point where I could really see the shape of the face here. So maybe something like this. And what we could also do is we could adjust the shader to give it the type of look that we're looking for. So we could select our character, go to our material for our toon shader. And one thing that I really like to adjust is the size. So if I go ahead and crank up the size, you could see that it's starting to really soften and spread out those shadows. And if I bring down the size, I could see more of the darker tones. So it really is up to you of how you want this to look like. I suggest you just kind of mess around with this. And you could also play around with the smooth. Let's say I have a really dark edges and harsh shadows there. I could go to the smoothing and crank up the smoothing, and that really smooths out those edges and just kind of spread out those highlights also. Mess around with the size and the smoothing. I like to keep the smooth at 0, so we got that nice hard edge. And I just like to kind of stick with the size here and then adjust it the way I want it here. So maybe something like that. I think this is pretty cool. The skin material, I think I'll stick to 0.949. And we could also add the toon shader onto our hair. So I'm going to go ahead and click new and then set this to toon shader, toon BSDF. And of course, I'm going to have to make it black color. And I'm also going to adjust the size. So I want this to be, actually for the hair, I want it to be tighter, the edges, and to be the dark tones to even pop out more. So I'm going to bring it down, the size. And for I'm actually going to go ahead and rename the black shader here. I'm going to call it black_matte. And I'm going to apply that same one for the eyelashes. For the eyes here, I actually have a texture map that I can use for this one. I'm going to go ahead and plug in a new shader, and I'm going to go ahead and call this eye_matte. And I'm going to go and set this to toon BSDF. All right, and I could go ahead and adjust the size for this. Maybe I could bring it to about 0.6, and I'm going to add once again, you could always change the color the way you want it, or you could plug in a texture map that you have made. I'm going to go to my toon BSDF here, Shift A, and add an image texture node. And I made a texture map for the eye already. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And this is going to be my eye map. And plug in that color onto the color right here. And that's what I have. And I could go back to my toon shader properties and just kind of adjust it to get the type of look that I'm looking for. So maybe something like that. And of course, for the outfit, I could just add that black material. Now, I want to give it that bluish color, really dark mood to it. Kind of like Batman feel, like dark and blue. So, see, if you guys didn't know yet, this is Catwoman. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my image editor. I think I'm already in my image editor here. Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and open the picture that I'm using as a reference, which is going to be this here. I want it to be more bluish. So what I'm going to do is for the lighting, I'm going to change the color of the lighting to appear more like a light blue, like what you see on her skin here. So I'm going to select my first light, and I'm going to go to my color for the light here, go to my eyedropper, and then sample what I have in my image here to get that bluish feel. All right, something like that. And I'm going to go to my second light, and then go to my color and sample another bluish tone, maybe brighter blue. Okay, something like that. And I could also change the background color. So if you guys look here, we have more of a gray color. So what I could do is to change the background color, right now it's gray, we could go ahead to our environment area. Okay. Let's go to our world properties right here, and you're going to see background, and then right below the background, you're going to see color. So double click on the color. Right now it looks like it's dark gray. So I'm going to click here, go to the eyedropper, and then I'm going to go ahead and sample a color that I want, maybe just a dark blue. And yeah, that's actually a nice color. But I think I probably could go to my sunlight here. Yes, my sunlight, go to my, yeah, I'm gonna go to my sunlight here, go to the light properties, and maybe I could crank up the light so we could see more of the features of the face. I'm gonna desaturate it. I want to see a little bit more of the skin tone, so I could go to my, yeah, I'm still in my lighting, to the color. I could go to my HSV here for the saturation. I could just decrease the bluish color so I could see more of her skin tone. So this is really kind of just playing around with the lighting, playing around with the material to get the right stylized effect that you need. I think this is pretty nice. We have the stylized hair, which is showing the shape of the inner details of the hair, like it's been drawn on. And you could see the face here. We got some nice shadows. We got some dark tones here. And also the body here, you could see it looks like it's been painted. And this is really the type of style that I'm looking for. And yeah, this is how you guys create a stylized toon shader using Blender. And I hope that you guys learn from this. And I'll see you guys in next future Victory 3D videos.